if you can interrupt a negative thinking pattern, hundreds of studies, Harvard did one, for as little as 2 minutes, you can avoid relapse.
I'm Flindt Andersen, founder of Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. I've been in recovery since 2001, and there isn't much I don't know about recovery. And my mission is to constantly tell the truth about addiction, to make the realities of addiction, recovery, and drug culture known, and to drive awareness and advocate change that ultimately saves lives.
And I'm LaChance, a certified recovery coach with a passion for speaking with others and sharing their knowledge to help others seek recovery and maintain long-term sobriety. And this is the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, presented by Pain, Parents and Addicts in Need. Welcoming to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast, Brian McAlister. Thank you for joining founder of Pain, Flindt Andersen, and myself, LaChance.
Hey, I appreciate the invite.
Yes, sir. Well, you know, we got acquainted not that long ago, and I just had to see your face again. So,
yeah. You're living dangerously, you know. That's it. The face ain't what it once was.
Well, hey, just because I'm sober doesn't mean I don't have, you know, some grandiose ideas still, you know. So, hey, this is right up that alley.
I just told somebody this morning, some days my best is better than others. That old behavior is right under the skin, you know?
Oh, yeah. In fact, I showed a little bit of it this morning.
Yeah,
as I'm running late.
I was going to go, what came up?
Oh, no. Just as I was running late, you know, that all of a sudden, you know, all the squirrels were let loose in my head, right? And and I'm trying to dodge them. That wasn't a pretty sight.
Well, I think that's a great thing to jump into. You know, we do have some newcomers that listen, some people that are in this sober living, you know, connected to pain or external. They hear it, and I think these are great things. You know why? I know both your gentlemen's stories, and there's so many parallels there of the living dangerous. But what I have admiration and like sitting under the learning tree is that longevity of sobriety and the managing of the squirrels, which, you know, it gets better, but it doesn't necessarily, some of our thoughts go away.
No, it definitely wasn't struck lily white. You know, I mean, that never happened. You know, it was thank God they told me it was progress, not perfection. You know, because I hang on to that some days. It's progress.
Right. And, you know, it's interesting how we get that, especially now that we're in longer term sobriety. But I think that's really an important statement, that progress rather than perfection. I think there are people that are not in recovery or have not experienced substance use disorder that their thinking is, well, why can't you just try to be perfect at this? They don't understand all the isms. They don't understand all the bullshit, okay, that goes with our addiction. And sometimes I think people on the outside think that we're using that as an excuse. Almost like, well, I'm not perfect, so right here comes my temper, or here comes something else. I've gotten that feeling from people in the past. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I get it, you know, and probably why I get it is the reason it's a disease, like dis-ease, is because we all have the same symptoms. You know, we really do. We have different stories quite often, but the symptoms and the way we react to things is quite often very, very similar. You know, like just the defiance part. You know, one characteristic we all share is by nature, most of us are defiant. We hate to be told what to do, you know, and when backed into a corner, we usually turn around. You know, we're not running out the door. So, you know, there's a lot of similarities in the way we act. And for me, it took a long time. I'm sober 33 plus years now. And like you, I was a couple of decades into it. I started when I was 12. I got sober just before my 33rd birthday. So I had many, many years of fine tuning that, you know, those neural pathways that when the right button is pushed, I react the same way if I can't get a half a second between my head and my mouth. Right. So, you know, it's progress, not perfection. You know, it's like I said, some days I'm better than others, but, you know, thank God I haven't had to go back far enough to pick up a drink or a drug.
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, as got I'm drawing a blank on the book, but I know the author was Viktor Frankl, where he talks about that point in between thought and the action and the decision that we make and how imperative that is. And that's the thing that I've noticed that is getting better, that discernment, so to speak, of what action I'm going to take. Like, I raised my voice the other day. My daughter was very surprised because I only do it when I really mean it. And I really meant it. In the situation, I made a conscious decision that was what had to be done. It wasn't a reactionary thing. And I think that's a big challenge of those character defects underneath that we're looking to get in control.
Yep. Well, like they say, my addiction was a symptom, not the cause of my substance use disorder. That's how I started very young. So, when all my adult learning skills were supposed to be developed, I was developing skills that kept me alive on the street for a lot of years, and they don't necessarily serve me well now in my present capacity. So maybe they would at some points. They're not all. I'll give you an example. My first 12-step sponsor told me that, you can walk in a room and within minutes you can usually spot. He goes, I watch you. I can trust this guy. I better keep an eye on Flindt. This woman behind me looks like trouble. He goes, they don't teach that in Harvard Business School. He goes, that's a skill set you were born with, and we all have skills. He says, if you take that and you combine that with the moral and ethical standards needed to stay sober, and then point that skill set towards your dreams, it will be a real asset and you'll be unstoppable. And I believed him, and it's true,
I agree with that. I absolutely agree with that. There was no, God, I mean, that's brilliant, as a matter of fact. Because we for the lack of a better term, we've played both sides of the street.
Yeah.
I mean, that streetwise, whatever you want to call it, does, when it's channeled in the right fashion, becomes a huge asset.
Absolutely.
But then again, there's times when I'd go back to somebody and go, I told you so.
Yeah, I know. You just scored the touchdown. No need to spike the ball.
Exactly. But I like that spike every now and then still.
I get it. I do. That's it. Progress, not perfection. That's
there it is.
I'm not a saint. It's funny when you were explaining a little bit about yourself before, the pre-interview, you were saying how you're married to the same woman. I too am blessed enough. I'm married to the same woman for 46 years. So like we've been, I dragged her like the wagon wheels through all back and forth across the country. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think we have a real knack or gift for picking strong spouses, whether men or women, who try to save us from ourselves. But if we're lucky enough to get through it, it's a bond that can't be broken.
Right. Now I always have to add this little caveat that I was tossed out on several different occasions.
Yeah, that's it. Well, nobody's a doormat, right?
Exactly.
That's all right. So was my dad, and somehow my parents are still married.
It's crazy, right?
Yeah, strong woman, strong faith. I do hand that to my mom for sure.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've been doing some awesome work. Virtual Freedom 365 and really giving accessibility to individuals. And I really wanted your take. We didn't have a conversation about this, but it kind of dawned on me this morning when I was thinking about this. And Flindt and I speak on our opinion of long-term harm reduction and some people not getting all the facts before that's the decision they make for themselves. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering your opinion too, Flindt. Do you think we've seen more of that push for a long-term harm reduction because of a lack of accessibility?
Lack of accessibility to what, though? I mean, to
treatment, to longer term treatment. I mean, we've got stronger drugs, stronger addiction, requiring a longer stay, a greater part of the working something longer to even have the tools, hopefully, for long term sobriety.
Yeah, are you going to answer, Flindt, or can I?
No, Brian, I want you to answer that one. Yeah, we've
developed. My background is, I'm sober, and I owned a treatment center and all this other stuff. But I developed this software because right now in our country, there's millions of people who don't have health care, cannot get into some type of a treatment facility, can't even get into a detox. Like the state of New Jersey doesn't even have any free detoxes anymore. So if you're in that position, what are you going to do?
Wow.
And then insurance companies, I found out from being in the industry that they're limiting people's access to treatment and capping off dollar amounts and things like that because people are, chronic relapsers. So I'm thinking, how can we reach more people with better information that's going to help them? How can we get to people with long-term recovery, like you're talking? Our program, our software is a year-long program, a year-long of daily new content for 365 days, hence the name Freedom 365. And that's what we came up with. And it's just not about putting the plug in the jug and dropping the drug. It's you got to get your, overcome financial scarcity, figure out your relationships, your career, all the things that cause people to relapse, all the life stresses, so we've been able, because this is a digital program, we've been able to pack more information into this thing because it's constantly expanding, than we ever could in a 28-day or 90-day treatment program. And our newest program, we have substance use, disorder, and, it includes, like I said, everything from, spirituality and career and how to discover your gifts and your talents and all the things like that we've been lucky enough to figure out, or have somebody like me, an AA sponsor who gave me a lead to do. And now our second program that we've included in there, again, no charge, we just expanded, is for trauma and PTSD, because 40% of the people suffering from substance use disorder also meet the clinical criteria for trauma and substance and PTSD. So we figure, how can we keep getting good information to give people the support they need? And it's like, we all look at our phone all day long. You know what I mean? That's all I do. Unfortunately, it drives me crazy. I told my wife, when I'm finally done, it's going in the lake right there. I'm just gonna get rid of it. But we have it there, and it's a tool. So this is like having a support group, a therapist, a recovery coach in your pocket 24/7 when you need it, because they've done all these studies, and if you can interrupt a negative thinking pattern, hundreds of studies, Harvard did one, for as little as 2 minutes, you can avoid relapse. So if you're used to using this tool, and this has over 600 interactive videos in it, so it's just like, I'm having a problem with my wife, type in wife, it's searchable, boom, 20 videos come up on how to interrupt that pattern and talk about something. So our whole goal is to save lives and help people reach their potential, enjoy their life, suck it all up and enjoy it instead of really throwing away this gift that we've all been given.
I like that a lot.
New Perceptions North, the premier drug and alcohol treatment and recovery center in Central California. A full continuum of medically supervised top quality care with programs for detox and patient residential treatment with dual diagnosis, intensive outpatient treatment, sober living support groups, and more. New Perceptions North provides adult men and women with the highest caliber of professional health care, treating each client with compassion and respect, in a safe, comfortable environment to begin the process of recovery to proudly create and sustain a life without addiction. Call 559-978-1507 or visit newperceptionsnorth.com.
But one of the questions I have is, how do you statistically know how this is working?
Well, it was studied for 6 years in our treatment center, and we used it on everything from, 18-year-old kids who were living in their mother's basement with an opium problem to people who work for Homeland Security and Goldman Sachs. So we know it has mass appeal, and we know that people that use it stay sober. The relapse statistics, I'm sure you guys know, are astronomical, So the idea, it's just a tool, and, it's got a lot of features in it that are also, standard, day counters and things like that. But that's not really what this is about.
Sure.
And it also has a meeting finder. You can find any AA Smart Recovery or NA meeting anywhere in the country, a GPS locator. So like
Nice.
you're on a business trip, you need something. I'm really feeling squirrely. Boom. Where's the closest meeting? You never have to leave it. It's everything that 33 years of recovery and all the people I've been blessed to meet have taught me. We've tried to incorporate this into this product. And again, it is not a substitute for anything else. It's another tool in the
Correct.
toolbox.
Right.
Yeah.
No, and I think that we are lacking. Our toolbox is empty at this particular point, or I'm not going to say empty, because I as well, I own a treatment center, and and we're constantly trying to do different things and change things up, and you're right, insurance companies, they're cutting time, they're cutting payments, they're cutting everything. That is their job right now. We're seeing an average of 17 days, instead of 28 anymore. It's a constant fight with keeping somebody longer for detox. Oh, they'll say, well, we're going to give you 3 days of detox. Well, what do you mean 3 days? So the routine.
Yeah,
You got
I know.
URs and all that shit, right? That you got to fill out and fight with them. So we still have, and this has been kind of my big fight, and this bitch over the years. We haven't changed anything in 60 years.
I say the same thing. We're doing more of what's not working. We just keep doing more of it, hoping that it's going to work. And the thing is, just the statistics show you that we're not on the right path. So the idea is we've got to come up with ways to meet people where they're at. And this is one way. For example, it includes assessments. It's got an alcohol assessment. It's got a PTSD assessment. It's got a drug assessment, and it's there immediately. Like you walk in my treatment center, it's hundreds of dollars for an assessment. Then you've got to do an intake. And so you've already spent all this money. You haven't even got any help yet. Right. This is something somebody could just log on to instantly and take an assessment. It's just right in there. And it costs literally a couple pennies a day. Pennies, because it's digital.
Right.
So the idea is it's just another way of skinning the cat. It's just another way of getting there and making sure that people have immediate access. I'll give you a real brief story. My sister died of an opiate overdose. In the early 2000s. And her son also died 2 years ago of an opioid overdose. So it is a family disease. But she she tried to get a free detox. She was in Jersey City, New Jersey, big inner city area. And she waited for 8.5 hours trying to get into this detox. Till finally she just said the moments passed. She couldn't get in. She walked out the door. And I never saw her again. She was done. You know what I mean? So the idea is people, in that moment of clarity comes when we got to reach out and we need some help. It's super important that there's, a bed, a voice, a call, an app, whatever the case may be, is to get somebody immediately some type of help and let them know there's help available. So like I've learned from personal experience, there's no substitute for that, And that's another thing, that being electronic, being digital, that it is there 24/7. Like when I went to AA meetings and NA meetings when I first got sober back in 1990, I was great while I was sitting in that meeting for an hour, but there was 23 other hours in a day. You know what I mean? And looking at the wreckage of my life, the crap that I created. My wife doesn't want to know me. My son doesn't talk to me. I have no money. I have no ideas. I'm unemployable. And so something like this would have definitely helped me because it would have kept me engaged a little bit longer. That's all.
Sure. That's been one of our biggest bitches around here too. And we've made it known, even within our own community, that when you call the 800, hotline, to get help, it's a 20-minute phone call with nothing but prompts, and they don't even talk about detox. They don't even talk about inpatient. If you're lucky, they mention something about outpatient, but it's press 8, press 7, press 2, press 1. Shit, yeah. We're already hung up the phone within a minute and a half, because none of us are going to sit around and wait for that crap to happen.
You're 100% right.
And one of the ladies that I was talking with here in the county, she did make a very good point. Because my point to her was, we, the addict, when we're reaching out, that is the most critical time in our lives, right then and there.
Yep.
We need a live body on the other end of that phone for countless reasons.
Mm-hmm.
So when we're listening to these prompts obviously we're gonna hang up the phone, but she made a good point. She said, and I get this, we can't keep people employed. We can't find enough people to even answer the phones. And to her point, she's correct. All of us that are in whatever type of business right now, it is a major pain in the ass finding employees. We can even hire them. They may not show up to start their job the following day.
No, I get it. I really do. Everybody's in the same boat with that.
Yep.
But, again, that's why it's so important that there's at least some way of communicating. And, I don't have the answer for our, economic situation, but I do know that we're going to have to start thinking outside the box. And this is an attempt to do that. And we've helped a lot of people, we've helped a lot of people, and it's nice, you get some accolades and some awards and stuff like that. But you know what the biggest thing is? When somebody says that it saved their life, that they were going to pick up, and
there it is.
You can't put a price tag on that. We've all been there. When you see the lights go on, oh, I get it. That kind of deal. There's nothing better than that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, and another thing, I'm kind of, how do I want to word this? I'm seeing some people that, and I guess it's conversations I've had. I attend Celebrate Recovery, and some of these younger guys, when I talk to them, and it's what I enjoyed about connecting with you, Brian, was that presenting of abundance and prosperity and sobriety, it doesn't seem to be getting talked about as much. And I don't know if it's this attitude of like, oh, you're being a braggart or whatever it is. I'm just kind of seeing that not being put to the forefront as much. I don't know.
I think that is so important, that you want. Listen, I know what a real dirtbag life looks like. I lived it. You know what I mean? I wanted something better. I wanted financial security. I wanted, a happy wife. I wanted all the things that everybody else wants in life. And you know what? Alcoholics and addicts, we have far above average earning capacity and intellectual capacity. And it's been, again, studied over and over again. So you got to get people to the point where you show them that it's just not. I had a guy in an early AA meeting, an old timer. Yeah, I'm an old timer now myself, but back then he was an old timer. He's probably younger than me. And he said, he's like, well, we don't promise you, you're going to get a job or you're going to get your money back. Or you're going to get this or whatever. We just promise you if you come here, you won't drink. I said, well, that sucks. You know what I mean? I'm looking for a little more than that. Thank you. I'm an addict. I like more, more love, more happiness, more money, more success, and I don't believe that type of attitude is in opposition to spiritual prosperity. I really don't. Because if I couldn't keep spiritually grounded and I couldn't keep mentally and morally uplifted, I could not achieve what my higher powers put me on this planet to achieve. I could be spiritually grounded, be sober, and have 2 Mercedes in the driveway. There's nothing wrong with that. It depends what I'm doing. Right. Capitalism at its greatest is when people get rewarded for their contributions, for the way they've helped their fellow man. They get rewarded for their success rather than their greed. Everything we've got, the microphones, your headphones, the clothes you're wearing, this was somebody's idea followed by an action. So I really think it's important for people, that really is a holistic program. It's everything. Mm-hmm. Like you're married 41 years to the same woman. You're doing something that's making that relationship work. People need to know what that is.
Exactly. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. But I think a lot of I still see this, and I think this just goes with the territory, especially with young guys in recovery, in early recovery. They can't get quite past the fact that they may not ever make the money. They may not ever get that Mercedes. They may not ever get that job. So I see a lot of them just kind of floundering, Yeah, they're sober. Yeah, they're clean, but they're just not, I'm sorry, they're just not putting in the effort, because it also takes effort. It takes work. It takes hard, excuse me, you can bleep this out, fucking work. Okay.
Yeah, no, I agree.
To achieve and to get somewhere. And what I try to explain to them is what you want it handed to you, because in my lifetime, have I had some things handed to me? Yes, I have. But 90% of it is I've worked for it. Okay.
Mhm.
And I worked for it. I earned it. Right.
Yes.
Now, I may not get exactly what I want, but at some point I did get that reward for it. And again, there's ups and downs and people, all over the place. I don't think a lot of these guys get that yet.
I just had this conversation with a young person I know in recovery, and he says, I have to make more money. I said, the only people who make money work in the U.S. Mint. The rest of us have to earn it. And if you want to make money, you're going to wind up very disappointed because you're not going to have freedom and abundance. You're going to have lack of freedom because the U.S. Mint and the federal government frowns on counterfeiting. So what you have to do is, change the way you're thinking. Like they told me, guy told me early on, Brian, you got to just change one thing. I said, what's that? He said, everything. I said, what? He goes, everything. How you're thinking, you should probably do just the opposite for a while, of what you think is your first reaction, because your thinker's screwed up. You know what I mean?
Right.
He said, what makes you think what you think means anything anyway? And I looked at him like confused in early recovery. I said, well, I thought it. He goes, yeah, but your thinker's so it's really the truth, so I let him do a little thinking with me. I bounced ideas off of somebody I respect.
You go. There you go.
Well,
I was getting the results I wanted.
And that's so vital, is that mentor-mentee relationship.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.
I don't know. We had talked about maybe last year. There seems to be kind of almost like a pushback of aging, having wisdom, almost like an obsession with youth. And with that kind of that youthful, whatever, I can be youthful, seems to come a lot of dipshit type of thinking, as opposed to this gentleman's helped me keep sober before I even worked with them. Now to work with them, like, I bounce stuff off all the time. I've got 5 or 6 mentors, and it's so important what you said there, to have that group of people. It's like that saying, hey, hang out with 5 people who drink, you're going to be the 6th.
Yep, that's right. That's exactly right. And it's funny because when I taught myself almost nothing. I can usually spot a good idea when I hear it, or not, or I can even possibly build on it or massage a little. But very few things are original. I didn't even figure out how to tie my shoes. Somebody taught me that. So, like, really, almost anything I've learned in life, I used to think that I was like the lone gunman, ride off on my Harley into the sunset. That kind of deal. And when I think about it, there's not much I can do on my own. Like I said, I didn't make the computer. I didn't make my clothes. I didn't grow my food. I didn't I didn't make the car, put the gas, where'd it come from? I need everybody's help in life. And when I got to the point that I wasn't, the word individual, so exalted in our society, is really bastardized from its original meaning, which was part of the whole, not separate from the whole. So, like, I have to be part of the whole. You guys have experiences that I'll never have, and the best way for me to save a lot of time and anger and energy is to ask you. And if you're gracious enough to tell me, I've just saved myself a lot of frustration trying to learn what you already know.
Right.
How'd you get sober? Right. Same way.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And again, I think a lot of this has to do with age. I really do. As you and I sit here and, and we're the age that we're at. And by the way, I'm constantly learning and relearning things. I just now have the open-mindedness to look at it, but the one thing that I have learned over the years is that none of us do anything on our own.
Nope.
We don't. You said it beautifully. Somebody taught us to tie our shoes. Somebody's taught us how to brush our teeth. Somebody
Yep.
taught us something all the time. I don't know of anybody in the last, seriously, that has invented the better mousetrap yet. And
No.
by the way, what is that? You're just taking an idea and trying to improve on it.
Exactly. And that's a wonderful thing. That's why language and communication is so important. It allows us to improve on all the ideas of the past. But the idea is we're starting from they've done all kinds of studies on the Romans and the Greeks and all these people who laid a lot of foundation for civilization, and they said they were at least as intelligent as we were. Things just took longer. They figured out these ideas. We've just been constantly had a baseline to start from and build on their ideas.
Right. You think we didn't go back to the Romans and when it was developing water systems?
Yes.
Come on. I mean, you could probably even go back further in time somewhere of some civilization that had some sort of water system. I mean, so again, to my point, everything's already been done. We're just improving on it.
We're tweaking it.
We're tweaking it. We're tweaking it.
Yeah, we learned very well. Hey, don't line that thing with lead. That's bad in the water. That's really bad.
I'm from industrial America originally. I know what happens.
Exactly.
My town bordered the largest garbage dump on the planet Earth.
Oh.
So it was like, and we played and we thought it was, it was like the woods, the only place where anything wasn't built,
And guess what? You survived.
Yeah, that's it. We are definitely resilient people. No
Absolutely.
Yeah, my dad and I, I think about the same time you got sober, Flindt, somewhere around there. And we still joke about it. He was a truck driver. And one of the things he had me do when I was a kid, about 6 or 7, was scrub truck parts with solvent with a wire brush with no gloves.
Yeah.
It's like,
exactly.
parenting's evolved a bit, or at least our common sense. So
it's good for him. Toughen him up.
Exactly. So, Brian, tell me your thoughts on or your thoughts particularly on long-term harm reduction.
On long-term harm reduction?
Yeah.
Well, long-term harm reduction is really just harm reduction today over an extended period of time. And that's how I try to live my life on everything is whatever my goal is, whatever I'm trying to accomplish. I do the same exact things and more today for my recovery than I did when I got sober. There's the basics. I master the basics on a daily basis, and I can add to that repertoire. But as long as I do this right thing today, I've been able to not drink and drug today or kill myself today for a lot of todays. And for me, it's almost like eating the elephant. You got to do it one day at a time. And I try to keep my life like that. That's simple. And I don't live in yesterday and I don't live in tomorrow. So that's really, I don't know if that's the answer you wanted, but that's how I look at long-term harm reduction.
Okay. So I like the answer, but I'm leaning more towards in society today, when we're talking about harm reduction, people are more talking about keeping somebody on methadone, keeping somebody on Suboxone. Let's have the safe injection sites. Let's the fentanyl test strips. Narcan, which again we're huge proponents of Narcan. Yeah.
I do. Here's this. Whatever's going to get you into the groove and get moving forward. When Suboxone and all this came out, it was something that they used for 5 days in the hospital. Now it's a lifetime prescription, and I'm just speaking for myself, that's not why I got sober. I got sober to experience life in its fullest. For me, leaning and focusing on a narcotic or anything else for my stability was the problem, not the solution. I mean, I like anybody else, I detoxed and I was on Librium and all this other crap that we did back then.
Yep.
But I am not a huge fan, but every recovery is a very personal thing, but I don't discount it. Everybody does it a little bit differently. I don't choose. I've told my story, to Jason before. Like I literally have broken everything you can break. I broke my back. I've got plates and pins and screws in my legs, traumatic head injury, hundreds and hundreds of stitches, hands, feet, all my ribs, you name it. I did it. I take nothing. I'm not on pain pills. I'm not on any of it. Because it doesn't agree with me. I cannot, for myself, I cannot reach my full potential unless I'm completely present and aware. I need all my mental faculties. And I also have, and I'm just speaking for myself, I've also been able to develop. I thought I was an atheist when all this happened. I really did. I had no God. I was expelled from a Catholic high school, which gave me a nice 20-year run of atheism and hypocrisy and turn the other cheek crap, and then they throw you out. I really hung my hat on it good, and but now I've developed a spiritual centeredness that allows me to deal with life on life's terms without that type of stuff. I mean, I'll take an aspirin if I need it, but that's pretty much the extent of what I do. And that's my idea, because I want the most. I'm an addict. I'm an alcoholic. I want more. I want more of life. I want more sensation. I want more adventure. I want more experience. And if I got to stand in line at the methadone clinic 365 days a year, what's the difference of standing in Harlem where I used to stand? You know what I mean? It's the same thing. And I'm not knocking anybody who goes that route. I'm really not. Everybody's got their own journey to recovery. But myself, US, that's my own, that's been my experience.
Okay. So I'm going to take it a step further. I'm going to knock everybody that's doing that for a second. Okay. And here's why I'm doing it. Because I think we are in a, we talk about people getting sober and living good, productive lives and having a great recovery. Okay. We are in a battle right now. We are in a fight for recovery. Okay. We've lost the war on drugs.
Oh,
I don't want us to lose the war on recovery, because we're not offering full recovery. We're offering maintenance. We're offering an easy way out here. And when you're talking to an addict, and by the way, I include myself in this mess, all right? Right? Because I was on methadone. When somebody's offering me an easier, softer way, I'm going to take it, especially at, in real early recovery, when I'm not quite there yet. I'm about ready to enter. Oh, wait a minute. You've got something that's going to take everything away, and I'm not going to have to go through any detox, and I'm not going to have to go through any type of physical pain here. Well, hell, I'll take that route. Even in San Francisco today, the mayor of San Francisco, of all places, is saying that long-term harm reduction is harming our city. Because these people that they maintain, again, for the lack of a better term, they're maintaining their addiction. They may not be stealing anything at the moment, but they certainly aren't clean and sober.
I get it. That's how I live my life.
Right. Okay. So, and I hope I'm explaining myself. Okay, jump in here because the fight that it seems to be is we've got these organizations that just want to have people maintain, and it's and the legal side, the people in Sacramento, they're buying into it. They are buying into it. What you just said something a while ago, that New Jersey doesn't have any more detox programs.
No.
Why?
Because, I'll share something to you. A friend of mine started Freedom House, and he had it for 30 years. And it was for chronic relapsers who came out of prison. Everybody came right from state prison, and you had to fight your way to get in there. And when you were in his program, you were taught lifestyle. Most of these guys never had a checkbook, never had a life, never had a job, never did anything. They were constant in and out of prison. And he had an off the hook success rate. Because when you went there, you were put on nothing. You had to get a job. You had to do all these other things. They showed you how to balance a checkbook, how to do all this other stuff. About 10 years ago, he gets a call from the state of New Jersey that his license will not be renewed unless he puts everybody on Suboxone in his program. There's 100 guys. He goes, we're on nothing. He goes, well, now you are. You know what I mean? You go, now you are, now if you want to keep getting funded, you're, because I have guys who've been here 8 months, not taking anything. So this became a big deal. He was lucky enough to have a gentleman there whose uncle was a congressman or something. So this guy who was there called up and they got somebody else involved. But the bottom line was the woman who was in charge of the state addiction services board was sleeping with the Suboxone rep, from whatever company, whatever brand of Suboxone they're selling then. And she got terminated, but then she went to work for the drug company. The point being is New Jersey's two top industries are insurance and drugs. So these guys are flooding the halls of Congress and the Senate with cash. And who do you think they're going to write the laws for?
Sure.
Because they tell them if you don't do it, we'll back your opponent. It's man's inhumanity to man that is causing not just the drugs deals on the street, but like you said, with recovery. And I don't do that. And my people in my program, they passed a law in New Jersey 6 years ago that you could not, like, we were a completely holistic program. We gave out nothing. We still don't. But they passed a law that it is against the law for an outpatient treatment to deny anybody access who is on medication assisted treatment. And then they used to call it medication assisted treatment. Now they say we'll no longer call that. We'll just call that treatment. So treatment is just switching your brands of drugs.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I agree. It just blows me away. I mean, it really does. Again, doesn't surprise me.
No.
That this happened in New Jersey. I mean, it simply doesn't surprise me. But as I look at the big picture here, as I look all around the country, and especially here in our little neck of the woods, man, when we say we're losing a generation, we are.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid for the generation behind that one. Because think about this, the generation behind the generation now, they're not going to have guys like us.
Yeah.
I mean, so how much softer, how much weaker, and again, I'm not trying to be some asshole here, but my God, I mean, if we don't do something somewhere, I mean, again, I'm almost glad I'm just not going to be around to see it.
They said that this same gentleman who was in the business for many, many years, and he said that's the problem, is now it's generational. He says, used to be when people would come to us, they were drug addicts, but they had some type of a family background. They had, gone to church. They went to school. There was some form of normalcy somewhere in their history. He says, now we're getting them, they have nothing. Mom and dad were an addict. They're an addict. Nobody's ever had a job. Nobody's ever had a bank account. So it's like you say, it's generational, and it's getting worse. He said, because we have nothing to work with. You know what I mean? And it's getting more difficult. Yeah. So I don't have the solution. I really don't. I can just show what I did, and that's what I do, and that's how I live. Believe me, I'm in pain. You can't do what I did, not be in pain.
Trust me.
But the idea is, what real pain is? Being addicted. Real pain is craving that booze and that drug like I need it, like I need to breathe. That's pain. Right. Being out of control of my faculties, not being true to myself. That's pain. Abusing my family by not bringing the money home. All this other crap. So I'm with you. I really am. The idea is maybe when I come across a little softer on that, it's because I want to invite people into our world. I don't want to put up anything that's going to keep anybody out. If you're going to come in here that way, we're going to take you that way, and we're going to show you a better way. And we're going to work you around and back in and change your goals, And then I've had parents tell me, sitting right in my office and tell me, well, he doesn't want to do that. He wants to do this. Like, how many people have you worked with? You know what I mean? What's your success rate? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
He doesn't want to get a job. He wants to stay home with me. Like, okay, like things you would never think of. I mean, I've actually had these conversations.
Oh, look, I've been doing this for 15 years. Okay. I've had every parent and every conversation under the sun, and I know exactly what you're talking about. I almost want to say, then why did you even come in to see me?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
exactly. I had a woman who lost one son, and she had a picture of him hanging on her. And I wasn't trying to be harsh. I just said, listen, better buy another picture frame. because
Yeah.
if you're gonna keep doing this, and it took 7 years, but she had another picture frame. She
Yeah.
called me when he
Oh,
passed. And the
geez.
thing is, exactly, doing more of what's not working, like we were talking about earlier.
Right.
Yeah. I saw something interesting this morning, though, upon this is that, Measure 110 in Oregon was the decriminalization. Well, it seems that, that state, I guess it's been overturned. And this was from our friend Tom Wolf, and his his response was the Drug Policy Alliance is big mad because sanity has prevailed.
Yeah.
And it's that level of interdiction that for many needs to happen. I noticed on the way here and in the little town that I live in Central California, even my buddy Arthur has kind of disappeared. And I reached out to a sheriff friend who says, yeah, we're intervening more. And I was like, oh, thank God. He's like, yeah, because we're tired of running out of Narcan.
Yeah. We'll talk about, it's the same deal. Like closing the door of the barn, before while the horse is already out the door, like rather than load it on the front end. And believe me, I'm not against Narcan. I'm glad people are being saved every day. I really am. But we have to do more on the front end. And that is that abundance lifestyle. You can get what you want. There is a way ahead. People don't have any hope. They got to move from hope to faith. Faith is strong. Faith is emotional. Faith means to expect. What are you expecting? Instead of just hoping. Hoping is waiting for something to happen in the future. And we live in a hope society. Hope's a great thing. as long as you got a lot of time, a little luck. You got to take some action, right? The Bible says faith can move mountains, but it doesn't tell you bring a shovel and lunch. You got to take the effort.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. No, it's and again, here in California, we're dealing with a lot of organizations that, and I'll use Narcan as the example. Narcan, look, it's a great thing to have. But it's a tool, okay? It's not a treatment tool. It's a life-saving tool, period. That is used so hopefully that person will make that decision, or we can talk to him about getting that person into treatment somewhere. But these people make it sound like, oh, just carry some Narcan around your neck. All right. And if you happen to overdose, just open up and self-administer it. I mean, really, what kind of bullshit is this?
That is bullshit.
I
had a guy who his son was with us, a very wealthy family, and the son, when he was with us for a while, he suggested to the parents that his younger brother should be here too, and the father put up a big no, we don't want to do that, and they decided, well, we're just going to keep an eye on him, we're going to keep him at home, and he died in his bedroom. When they called him for dinner one day, he was dead. You know what I mean? So again, if you're lucky enough to have that Narcan when it's necessary, but if you're not going to change, it's inevitable what's going to happen.
Correct. Absolutely.
And the inevitable, the window has just gotten smaller and smaller and smaller. I mean, like we've said here before, I've done meetings with guys that were on heroin for 30 years, but fentanyl addicts, no.
Got a 6-month window, maybe. I mean, again, because we were all, long-term addiction, I could have been a pill addict for another 30 years. I mean, I would have suffered the medical consequences more than what I was at the time. Right. The constipation, the heart issues, the sleep disorders, everything that goes with opioid addiction. But I think, I could
never mind you haven't been to the bathroom in about 12 years,
Right. Exactly.
That's a whole new experience too.
That's a whole new experience. Listen, my friend, they had to go in and surgically repair my insides.
Yeah, okay? I know. It's not good for your whole constitution. That's for sure.
No, it is. It is not. It is not. That's funny.
Hey, Brian, this always a pleasure to talk with you. If people want to find out more about Virtual Freedom 365 or any of the other programs that you're doing, what's the easiest way to connect with you?
Yeah, you can reach me at I'll give out my email. How's that? Anybody can email me. It's brian1mcalister@gmail.com. VRS Freedom 365 is our software. And we just started a nonprofit for people who really don't have any insurance, can't get into that. And it's called MyMentalHealth.org. And we'll give you a version of our software absolutely free. If you could throw a couple bucks in the kitty to keep it up and running, we would really appreciate it. And it's MyMentalHealth.org. And our whole goal is to help people achieve, not just sobriety, but abundance, a life. If you're just going for sobriety, I'm speaking for myself, it wouldn't be enough. You know what I mean?
Right.
I'm going for the whole deal, but thank you guys for having me on. I really appreciate it, and I appreciate what you're doing.
Thanks, Brian. It's been a pleasure, man. Nice meeting you.
Nice meeting you too.
Absolutely. And so you real quick, you got 46 years with your wife?
Yeah, 46, coming up about 47 next month.
Okay, I'll be 45
19 years old. I told her I was going to take her on the adventure of a lifetime, and I definitely lived up to it.
Yes, same here. I told my wife it's going to be a hell of a roller coaster ride. 45 years later, I'm glad that roller coaster slowed down a little bit.
Me too.
Anyway,
this is the easier, softer way, right?
That's right.
Yes,
that's
sir.
right. Thanks, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
If you or a loved one is struggling with addiction, please call PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, at 559-579-1551, or visit us online at painnonprofit.org. Follow us on social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok at Pain Nonprofit. And please subscribe to the Don't Hide the Scars podcast and share with others wherever you get podcasts and on YouTube. And if you would like to donate to PAIN, Parents and Addicts in Need, please click the link in the description to make your tax-deductible donation today and help us save more lives gripped by addiction.